The Mountain Whippoorwill by Stephen Vincent Benet. Read for LibriVox.org by Leonard Wilson of Springfield, Ohio. Up in the mountains it's lonesome all the time, soft winds slewing through the sweet potato vine. Up in the mountains it's lonesome for a child, whippoorwills a calling when the sap runs wild. Up in the mountains, mountains in the fog, everything's as lazy as an old hound dog. Born in the mountains, never raised a pet, don't want nothing, never got it yet. Born in the mountains, lonesome born, raised running ragged through the cockleburs and corn. Never knew my pappy, maybe never should, think he was a fiddle made of mountain laurel wood. Never had a mammy to teach me pretty please, think she was a whippoorwill a-skittin' through the trees. Never had a brother nor a whole pair of pants, but when I start to fiddle, why, you got to start to dance. Listen to my fiddle, kingdom come, hear the frogs a-chunkin' jug-a-rum, jug-a-rum. Hear that mountain whippoorwill be lonesome in the air, and I'll tell you how I traveled to the Essex County Fair. Essex County has a mighty pretty fair. All the smarty fiddlers from the South come there. Elbows flyin' as they rosin up the bow for the first prize contest in the Georgia Fiddlers' Show. Old Dan Wheeling, with his whiskers in his ears, kingpin fiddler for nearly 20 years. Big Tom Sargent with his blue wall eye, and little Jimmy Weezer that can make a fiddle cry, all sittin' round, spittin' high and struttin' proud. Listen, little whippoorwill, you better bug your eyes. Tunin' while the judges told the crowd them that got the mostest claps 'd win the bestest prize. Everybody waitin' for the first tweedledee, when in comes a stumblin' hillbilly me. Bowed right pretty to the judges and the rest, took a silver dollar from a hole inside my vest, plunked it on the table and said, "There's my callin' card, and anyone that licks me, well, he's got a fiddle hard." Old Dan Wheeling, he was laughin' fit to holler. Little Jimmy Weezer said, "There's one dead dollar." Big Tom Sargent had a yeller toothy grin, but I tucked my little whippoorwill spang underneath my chin, and petted it and tuned it till the judges said, "Begin." Big Tom Sargent was the first in line. He could fiddle all the bugs off a sweet potato vine. He could fiddle down a possum from a mile-high tree. He could fiddle up a whale from the bottom of the sea. You could hear hands spankin' till they spanked each other raw when he finished variations on Turkey in the Straw. Little Jimmy Weezer was the next to play. He could fiddle all night, he could fiddle all day. He could fiddle chills, he could fiddle fever. He could make a fiddle rustle like a lowland river. He could make a fiddle croon like a lovin' woman, and they clapped like thunder when he'd finished strummin'. Then came the ruck of the bob-tailed fiddlers, the let's-go-easies, the fair-to-middlers. They got their claps and they lost their bicker, and they all settled back for some more corn liquor. And the crowd was tired of their no-count squealing, when out in the center steps old Dan Wheeling. He fiddled high and he fiddled low. Listen, little whippoorwill, you got to spread your wings. He fiddled and fiddled with a cherrywood bow. Old Dan Wheeling's got bee honey in his strings. He fiddled a wind by the lonesome moon. He fiddled a most almighty tune. He started fiddling like a ghost. He ended fiddling like a host. He fiddled north and he fiddled south. He fiddled the heart right out of your mouth. He fiddled here and he fiddled there. He fiddled salvation everywhere. When he was finished, the crowd cut loose. Whippoorwill, they's rain on your breast. And I sat there wondering, what's the use? Whippoorwill, fly home to your nest. But I stood up pert, and I took my bow, and my fiddle went to my shoulder so, and they wasn't no crowd to get me phased, but I was alone where I was raised, up in the mountains so still it makes you skeered, where God lies sleepin' in his big white beard. And I heard the sound of the squirrel in the pine, and I heard the earth a-breathin' through the long night time. They fiddled the rose and they fiddled the thorn, but they haven't fiddled the mountain corn. They fiddled sinful and fiddled mortal, but they haven't fiddled the brushwood laurel. They fiddled loud and they fiddled still, but they haven't fiddled the whippoorwill. I started off with a dump-diddle-dump. Oh, hell's broke loose in Georgia. Skunk cabbage growin' by the bee-gum stump. Whippoorwill, you're singin' now. My mother was a whippoorwill pert. My father, he was lazy. But I'm hell broke loose in a new store shirt to fiddle old Georgia crazy. Swing your partners up and down the middle. Sashay now, oh, listen to that fiddle. Flapjacks flippin' on a red-hot griddle, and hell's broke loose, hell's broke loose. Fire on the mountains, snakes in the grass. Satan's here a-bilin', oh, Lordy, let him pass. Go down, Moses, set my people free. Pop goes the weasel through the old Red Sea. Jonah's sittin' on a hickory bough. Up jumps a whale, and where's your prophet now? Rabbit in the peep-patch, possum in the pot. Try and stop my fiddle now, my fiddle's gettin' hot. Whippoorwill singin' through the mountain hush. Whippoorwill shoutin' from the burnin' bush. Whippoorwill cryin' in the stable door. Sing tonight as you never sang before. Hell's broke loose like a stompin' mountain shoat. Sing till you bust the gold in your throat. Hell's broke loose for 40 miles around. Bound to stop your music if you don't sing it down. Sing on the mountains, little whippoorwill. Sing to the valleys and slap 'em with a hill. For I'm struttin' high as an eagle's quill. And hell's broke loose, hell's broke loose, hell's broke loose in Georgia. They wasn't a sound when I stopped bowin'. Whippoorwill, you can sing no more. But somewhere or other the dawn was growin', oh, mountain whippoorwill. And I thought, I've fiddled all night and lost. You're a good hillbilly, but you've been bossed. So I went to congratulate old man Dan, but he put his fiddle into my hand, and then the noise of the crowd began. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.